Okay, everybody, welcome to Art History. So I bet you're wondering, what is this class like and what will I be doing in the class? So Art History is mainly a lecture class. So the typical art history class looks like this, where it has a professor up at the front of the room. It's usually a dark room so you can see the projection of the artwork on the screen. Now, this class is really heavy note taking driven. So, in a classroom, this is what it looks like as the students are taking their notes. However, you being an online student, you'll be watching my videos and taking notes as we go along. So, there is a difference between the two semesters of art history. So, the first semester is 1303 at Lone Star College, and it covers from prehistory to the Gothic era. The second semester is 1304, and it covers from the Renaissance to the modern era. So, what artwork are you going to be looking at in these two semesters? So, the semester one starts off with prehistory artworks like cave painting, and then we get into the Mesopotamia and Egypt, and then we get into the Greek era or the Roman Empire, and then into the Byzantine era and the medieval style. And we look at the Gothic era. And the first semester in my class, we'll also be looking at the non Western civilizations. And I'm going to concentrate mostly on Mexico and Africa. Semester two, we start off in the Renaissance, and we do like Italian Renaissance and the Northern Renaissance, and we get into Mannerism and Baroque, and then into Rococo, Neoclassicism, and Romanticism and Realism. And then we get into the Impressionism and Post Impressionism, which leads us then into modern art. So there are 386 trillion, 178 billion, 392 million, 877,212 works of art in the world. That is a completely made up number, right? What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of art, and we only have 187 days to discuss them. With you guys online, we might be in a full semester, we might be in a mini semester, we might be in a summer semester, so we even have fewer than 187 days to discuss them. So my point is that there's a lot to talk about. And you've heard the term a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words and we have 386 trillion artworks, that's going to give us 386 quadrillion words. My point is that I have a lot to say about these artworks. So there's a lot of lecturing for you to listen to. I hope that you find it all as fascinating as I do. So that's why I post this up a lot. When I'm going through my artworks, I say so much art history and never enough time to cover it all. So let's go run through the art museum, because it's going to kind of feel like we're running through the art museum. We're skipping a lot of stuff. In both semesters, we cover artworks from around the world. So we'll be looking at paintings, we'll be looking at sculpture, we'll be looking at objects, and we'll be looking at architecture in this class. Now, these are two more completely unscientific graphs, or this is completely unscientific information. I made these up. So in the first semester, it's going to be very sculpture heavy. So we're going to be looking at a lot of sculpture, a lot of architecture, a little bit of painting, and a little bit of other stuff. In the second semester, it's almost all painting that we're going to be looking at, a little bit of sculpture, and a little bit of other stuff. So the first semester is sculpture heavy, and the second semester is painting heavy. And then a couple other differences between the first and second semester. In the first semester, these are pretty much the colors that we're going to be working with. We're looking at a lot of sculpture, we're looking at a lot of architecture, and it's not very colorful in the first semester. The second semester, since we're looking at a lot of paintings, it does become very colorful. And another big difference between the first semester and the second semester is that the first semester, we don't know who these people are. We don't know who the person was that made this particular sculpture. The records have been lost to history, and also most of the artists in the first semester were not treated as rock stars. They were not treated as anything special. They was no different than somebody that made the roads. In the second semester is when artists become superstars. And so we know who they are, and there's a lot of information about the artist. So, there's an added element of not only looking at the art and the culture of the places that we're going to study, but we're also looking at the individual artists. And even as we get into more and more modern art in modern times, we can actually watch the artist's work. There's film of the artist working, and then there's interviews with the artists, and we can hear them talk. So we know a lot more about the artists. So here's a warning about this class. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but and here's another very unscientific graph that we're going to be talking a lot about religion. We're going to be talking a lot about sex in this class and death. These are the three main subjects that artists are making art about. There's other stuff that people make art about, but the majority of what we're talking about is religion, sex, and death. And when my daughter was taking a Lone Star class, I, as the parent, because she was underage, had to fill out this form and check off these things. And one of them says, I understand the student may be exposed to adult material in the classroom, and that certainly applies for this class. We are going to see paintings and sculptures of naked people. We are going to hear about stories of religion, sex, and death. So we're going to be taking tests, and you're going to do a research project, and then there'll be a final exam, and we'll have quizzes and lectures. And the main thing that you're going to be doing in this class is taking notes. I'm going to explain all of this in detail in other videos. And you need to have access to D2L to access the assignments and post your assignments.